The Division 2 has been around for years, but with new updates and a big expansion in 2025, there's still a lot going on. At the heart of the Division 2 is its intense cover-based shooting. You're dropped into a post-collapse Washington, D.C., packed with enemies that don't just stand around waiting to be shot. They actually flank you, rush your position, and use gear just like you do. The AI is surprisingly smart, especially on higher difficulties. The moment-to-moment gunplay still feels tight and satisfying. You've got rifles that kick with power, grenades that actually change the pace of fights, and gadgets like seeker mines and drones that make you feel like a futuristic tactician. The game forces you to move, think, and plan your approach, rather than just run and gun your way through missions. If you're into co-op play, teaming up with others makes battles feel even more dynamic. There's something really cool about coordinating gadgets and suppressing enemies while your teammate flanks. Whether you're solo or in a squad, it's the gameplay that still carries this title. The setting is one of the strongest parts of the game. Washington, D.C. is beautifully recreated. Even if it's falling apart, you'll explore everything from overgrown parks and abandoned museums to wrecked city streets. The detail in the world design is impressive. It feels lived in and believable. And it's full of environmental storytelling that adds depth without needing constant cutscenes. The game's weather system and day-night cycle bring the city to life. Storms roll in, fog messes with your vision, and nighttime firefights feel more intense. You'll actually notice how the city's mood changes with the weather, which makes exploration and combat feel different every time. There's a lot to discover as you move through the map. Side missions, control points, random events, hidden loot caches, and it all ties into your progression. You're not just grinding, you're cleaning up the city and pushing back the chaos. Where the Division 2 truly shines is in its endgame. Once you finish the main campaign, the game opens up a lot more. You've got endgame factions that reinvade areas you already cleared, tougher enemy types, and world tiers that scale up the difficulty. Modes like the Summit give you a 100-floor tower climb full of randomized challenges, and Countdown throws you into 15-minute timed missions with high-stakes rewards. These modes are designed to test your builds and push your limits. And of course, there are raids like Operation Dark Hours and Iron Horse, which are challenging even with a full team. If you like min-maxing gear, grinding for the perfect build, or tweaking your loadout for efficiency, the endgame offers hours, maybe hundreds of hours, of things to do. There's depth, variety, and plenty of challenges to keep you engaged long-term. Gear builds are another big part of the fun. Every piece of armor and every weapon can be customized, optimized, and re-rolled to fit your playstyle. Whether you're going for raw damage, status effects, tankiness, or skill builds, the game gives you the tools to build your agent how you want. You can create a healer build for co-op, a skill spamming build with drones and turrets, or just go classic with a high DPS rifle setup. The flexibility is great, but it can be overwhelming for new players. There's a steep learning curve when it comes to understanding stats, mods, recalibration, and how it all fits together. But once you get the hang of it, experimenting with builds becomes one of the most addicting parts of the game. As of 2025, the game is still getting seasonal updates. Each season brings new manhunts, gear sets, global events, and sometimes reworked missions. It's not massive new expansions like in the early days, but there's still a reason to log in regularly. However, not all players are happy with how the seasonal content is handled. Some feel the updates are too small or too recycled. Others think it's enough to keep the game alive without demanding too much time. It depends on how invested you are in the grind. Still, the fact that the developers are supporting the game this late in its life is a big win for the community. There's nothing worse than a live service game that gets abandoned, and the Division 2 has avoided that fate. But it's not all perfect. The main story is forgettable. The missions are action-packed, but the characters and plot don't leave much of an impression. You won't find deep emotional moments or big twists here. It's more of a backdrop than a true driving force. Mission structure can also get repetitive. You'll often go into a building, fight waves of enemies, push a button, fight more enemies, and then leave. While the combat keeps things interesting, the formula doesn't change much, especially in side content. And for new players, the systems can be overwhelming. There's a lot of jargon, mechanics, and overlapping systems like recalibration, optimization, and loadouts. The tutorial tries to explain things, but it doesn't go deep enough. You may find yourself needing to look up guides just to make sense of how to progress efficiently. Now, let's talk about the Division 2, Battle for Brooklyn, major expansion, bringing players back to New York, specifically Brooklyn, during the autumn season for the first time in the series. This DLC introduces a new storyline where Division agents face off against the Cleaners and Rikers, who have crossed over from Manhattan with a dangerous new weapon called the Purple Flame, which causes corrosive and burning effects. Players can have 10 hours of fresh content, including 4 main missions outside the current map, 4 permanently available side missions, 4 unique control points tied to enemy factions, 12 open-world activities, 10 bounty targets, and 8 hunter puzzles that unlock exclusive masks. The expansion also includes various collectibles and reintroduces the Smart Cover skill, which adds offensive and defensive utility to cover points in both PvE and PvP scenarios. A new exotic item, the Catalyst Mask, is also featured, offering bonuses when dealing or receiving status effect damage. The community is still active, and if you jump in today, you'll find other agents willing to help, especially in co-op. Matchmaking works pretty well, and there are dedicated groups still running raids, grinding gear, and helping new players. The game runs smoothly on most platforms, with only minor bugs and connection issues. The developers have done a solid job keeping the game stable and playable, even with its age. If you're coming back after a long break, you'll find a lot has changed. If you're new, it might take a bit of time to get into the rhythm, but the content is there to keep you hooked once it clicks. So, is the Division 2 worth playing in 2025? If you're looking for a tactical shooter with solid gameplay, a deep loot system, and a ton of endgame content, then yes, it's still very much worth your time. The combat is sharp, the world is immersive, and the build customization can be addicting. But go in knowing that the story won't blow you away, the grind can be intense, and the early hours might be confusing if you're new. It rewards players who stick with it, but it's not the easiest game to pick up and play casually. If you love looter shooters and team-based gameplay, the Division 2 still delivers. Just be ready to invest a bit of time to unlock the game's best parts. Thanks for watching. If this helped you figure out whether or not to jump into the Division 2, leave a like and check out our other reviews. And remember, stay in cover and watch those flanks.